There's been so much scaremongering about the nature restoration law over the past couple of years that you would have the thought that it's some sort of powerful law. It's going to drive farmers off their land. The truth is, it's anything but. We have another toothless EU proposal that has been gutted again and again by the right-wing parties in Europe, egged on by big agribusiness and big farmer lobby. To top it off, it hasn't even been passed by the Council of Ministers yet, and given the swing to the right and the far right in the European elections, it is questionable whether it will be passed at all or whether it will be gutted even further before it is passed. Even if it is passed, member states will have a wide latitude in implementing it. We all know what that looks like in practice for how this state implements EU environmental directives. It doesn't. We have the fines, we have the court cases to prove it. And in this context, the motion today is really an attempt to kill off the nature restoration law entirely while giving some words of kindness, some words in the right direction. It's akin to pulling the plug on a patient on life support. The dire situation of nature and biodiversity in this country has been endlessly recited, inside and outside this chamber, but still very little is being done about it. The government itself has acknowledged in its 6th national report to the Convention on Biological Diversity in 2019 that 91% of listed habitats were in unfavourable conservation status, with 31% of them declining even further. Overall, around half of habitats were declining in quality. Birdwatch Ireland reported in 2022 that almost 2/3 of Ireland's bird species are in serious trouble. We have loads of excellent proposals from the Citizens' Assembly on biodiversity and the Children and Young People's Assembly on biodiversity laws. I sit on the Environment Committee, which reviewed and endorsed those reports. We have a National Biodiversity Action Plan, which now has a statutory basis. But it still seems that the government will not take action on the biggest threats to biodiversity. Just this morning, I was listening on the radio there. The EPA published its latest report on water quality. It shows that there has been no improvement in water quality. On some measures, it's getting worse, with the quality of water improving in 187 water bodies, but declining in 232 others. Only 15% of our water bodies have a high quality status, 45% being substandard. 4 rivers, 11 lakes are rated bad, which means that, like Lough Neagh in Northern Ireland, they are ecological disaster zones. What is the cause of this ecological disaster, this ecocide which is being wreaked on our society? Primarily, it is caused by industrial agriculture overstocking the land and having to use huge amounts of artificial fertiliser as a result, and by the failure to invest in proper sewage and water treatment facilities. Rather than tackling either of those issues, the government is promising to defend the nitrates derogation to its inevitable death. They refuse to tell the truth to farmers, and then they're squirreling away billions in so-called rainy day funds rather than using some of the €65 billion surplus to invest in essential sewage and water treatment infrastructure. One proposal that both the Citizens' Assembly on Biodiversity and the Oireachtas Environment Committee have supported is for a referendum to insert the rights of nature and the rights of people to a healthy environment into the Constitution. This is supposed to be looked at by the government, but in reality it seems that it will play for time, kick the can down the road until the next general election. One area where we can agree with the Regional Independent Group is that there needs to be proper funding provided, along with the nature restoration law, so that farmers are properly rewarded for restoring nature and that their livelihoods are protected. Again, the government has the money to do this at a national level, regardless of what happens at a European level. It should make a cast iron commitment that no small farmer will lose out financially as a result of action for nature restoration. There should be a commitment in our national restoration plan to distribute income in the farming sector away from big farmers, away from the big agri-food industry, and towards small farmers. that needs to happen at a European level and also here in Ireland if there is to be a just transition towards sustainable farming that ensures food security, enhances biodiversity and reduces carbon emissions. For those reasons, we in People Before Profit support a stronger nature restoration law at European level that is implemented to the fullest extent nationally. But we also need to go beyond that. We need to make the kind of transformative eco-socialist changes that are needed to end the climate and biodiversity crises. That means breaking from industrial, for-profit agriculture entirely. It means moving towards an eco-socialist system that produces food for people, not for profit, and that has protection and stewardship of the land at its core. As long as capitalism remains dominant in our agricultural and economic system, not even our rivers will run free.